Good morning, Sam.
Would that be Mr. Bridge?
Just rolling out of bed. How are you?
Me too. I just got up a few minutes ago.
Well, good morning. I'm going to let you get your bearings.
And we already have some lively interaction.
So did I get that right? You're complete with your journey, or shelving it for now, going back to barn raisings? What are we doing?
I am back from California. I spent the entire past week there. So I am back.
How'd you like it?
It was actually a pretty successful trip. I'm being, I guess, grouped in with the dark side these days. It was a sales training for the company. And because I have to worry about certain customers, I need to know what the salespeople do and how they think. So I was included in this year's sales training. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It was illuminating. Certain things took more time than they should have. Other things were very well covered. The collaboration was very good. I think the company I'm with now is finally getting some buzz because we've been selling AI and artificial intelligence for 20 years, and now it's super hot. Mm-hmm. So we've had a 20-year-old AI product, that, isn't new, but it's new to most of the world.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun with AI. This is going to be a good little ride this next 5 years.
Well, people have to, one of my little slogans is, people think too much about the I, and they don't recognize enough of the A in AI.
Yeah, all my friends, we're just calling it what it is. It's machine learning. There is no such thing as AI. That's bullshit.
Well, actually, AI is much, much, much bigger than machine learning, but machine learning is what's hot these days.
Well, that's when people say AI, I just think they're talking about machine learning. If they're talking about actual AI, I'd be impressed.
Today they are. But, I've been in this area for 30 years. So there's natural language understanding, there's, adaptive learning, there's walking, there's the fundamentals of neural networks, there's expert systems, there's symbolic programming. All of that has been lumped at one time or other in AI. But the most true thing about AI, I think, is if it works, people don't call it AI. AI is that which people experiment with at the boundary. So,
yeah, I mean, what was your first real interaction with a working quote unquote AI, machine learning? What was your
I went to the Stanford HPP Master's AI program back in 83, 84, 85. So I got to know a bunch of the people who were very, very well known in that area at the time. Hey, Lucy, how are you doing? I was just answering a question from Joshua about my exposure to AI. So this is way back, probably before Lucy was born, way back 83, 84, 85 at Stanford, in something called the KSL, the Knowledge Systems Lab, otherwise known as HPP, the Heuristic Programming Lab project. So some of the biggest people, some of the best marketers in AI, like Ed Feigenbaum, Penny Nee, Bruce DeLogge, those guys, Ted Shortliff, Doug Lennett, Mike Genesis.
But here was my question, though. That wasn't my question. My question was, what was the first application you used or your first experience?
I'm talking about that. We actually built.
Oh, okay. You're leading up to it. Okay, sorry.
Way back in 83 to 85 that used expert systems, and the government paid millions and millions of dollars for. But that was not machine learning. That was symbolic processing and expert systems and frame-based representations. So AI has evolved quite a bit in the last 30 years. So today, people.
But what was the application? What was this expert system that the government developed? What did it do? Was my question.
It's classified. But it tried to predict conflicts.
Oh, okay.
It tried to predict world conflict.
Like, I was wondering why you were skating around the issue. You're like, oh, that's classified. I can't tell you that part.
Likely to occur. Let's say it that way.
All right. I've never used actual AI yet, so I'm waiting for it. I've been close. My friends invented all that natural
You do every
voice
day.
recognition.
Netflix calls it AI. Netflix recommendation engines, they call AI.
That's not AI. It's machine learning.
That's what I'm saying, Josh, is if it works, people don't call it AI.
So, exactly. So you've gotten to use it. I've never used it, so I'm jealous. That's all. Let's move on. Thank you. That's fine. Doug's here. Barn raising time. Let's raise this barn. Let's get it up. Wait, hold on. I gotta raise the barn.
Well, I'm curious about this question. How do we not actually, let me ask it a different way. Let me wait till people get here.
Okay.
Because Josh, Lucy, I know you've seen this thread. Doug, Josh, I'm not sure you saw the thread about my announcement of the change in time and Heiner's reaction to it. There's Heiner. Speak of Heiner. Heiner, I was just invoking your soul, your presence.
Called him in.
And then Heiner appeared.
I've invoked your soul, Heiner. You are now here.
Maybe not quite.
Sorry, Lucy, I couldn't hear you.
Maybe he's not quite here. Seems like.
Well, he didn't fully invoke his whole soul yet.
Yeah.
He's still invoking.
Also, it looks like Doug immediately materialized. He didn't have to do the transporter effect today. Lucy, Doug, Josh, I'm going to make you guys co-hosts. I'm going to make Heiner a co-host as well. And I'm going to reach back for my coffee like this. Okay. All right. Heiner, first things first. If I owe you an apology, I apologize. I'm sorry.
I can tell you my reaction after reading that. You this time change thing you brought up a long way back, didn't you? The question came up.
Yeah, I mean, it was formalized last Saturday, in the Saturday barn raising. And then I started the poll shortly thereafter. And then I summarized the progress of the poll 1 or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And so that's what has happened. But I'm curious how you would summarize it, Lucy.
Well, it feels like I have this memory of you asking the question a long way back, and then I wasn't around last Saturday. So, I mean, what's the alternative? How else could you do this?
I am very, very curious. How do we, as a non-incorporated, collection of individuals, handle this?
Yeah, I didn't feel. Well, for me, it's great that it's earlier because then I can be here.
That's what. Yeah, I wanted it to be earlier because the other calls, everyone's always up late at night. I'll get up super early. Doug's, at the right time, and then it's better for everyone except for me and you, Sam and Tammy. Well,
and perhaps Jaswinder and Heiner, perhaps.
No, it's just. I mean, they're all in that later time zone. Perhaps they have busy schedules at that time of day. But
no, I'm saying Jaswinder actually preferred the later time, is what I'm saying. He actually voted for the later.
I saw that. But I'm just saying, in general, the reality is there's ideal and reality. So in reality, there's about 10 people. Ideally, what's it going to be like when there's 100? So it'd be better moving forward in the future because it's including more people in the world at this time on a Saturday.
So just to chime in. So I remember when you raised it and said, I'd like to. And I was like, I could do that. I did not receive any of the signaling related to a poll. And when I went to check, because I had in the back of my mind, did he shift the time or didn't he shift the time? So when I went to the pinned post at the top of the GCC community page, what it says in there is only the first Saturday of the month is moved to this time, and this is not the first Saturday of the month. So you almost missed me and I almost missed you because I thought it was not happening. And then I got the signal, the 45-minute before commencement signal. So that's not to point fingers or anything about blame. It's just data flow from me as one. And we have somebody new. But I just want to continue for a minute. So here's the thing. This falls under the heading. Hello.
Hey, Emmanuel.
Welcome, Emmanuel. So this falls under the heading for me of signaling. Okay? And the issue of signaling is the way signaling is currently related to is screwed up because it's push-based and it's broadcast-oriented, and the vision is not human being centered, and it's not in service to the people that are trying to be signaled. It's bass backwards and upside down because that's the industrial power authority paradigm, and it just doesn't make any sense. So the truth of it is that we as a group want to do this differently. Then we have to solicit and know what every individual person's preferential channels and method of signaling is, and have the system set up so that when there is a schedule to be promoted or pushed out, or a change to be announced and ubiquitously promulgated across the collective, that there's a platform that says, oh, I know John wants to get that via email, and Jane wants to get that via tweet, and so-and-so wants to get that via IM and Facebook, and the platform should automatically do that, so that it guarantees that everybody gets the signal that that you want them to receive through the channel that they prefer to receive it. And that's a basic fundamental paradigm shift of human being centered first that nobody gets. Nobody in technology development, platform development, or any development gets this concept. I don't know why. It's absolutely moronic. We're still working for the machines and working in slave service to how the machines work, and we work for them. They don't work for us. And it's crap. So it's not sort of like throw hands in the air, how do we do this? The answer is really obvious. We have to do the work so that people receive the signal through the channel and in the way they want to, and they've expressed and shared they would like to. And if they get the signal, you know what, 9 out of 10 times, they'll show up. They'll be here.
Hey, Doug, have some more coffee.
Yeah. Anyway, just, it's Saturday. I'm in that frame of mind. So don't mind my energy.
I like your energy, Doug.
This is something Josh got by internalization on his own motion by digging 6 hours into one piece of the puzzle of how I and mine relate to the platform everybody needs that nobody has. And this is in the same vein. Yeah, I'm sorry, Josh. I'm done. I'm done ranting.
No, I have to say, I love your passion. When you go on rants, it's great. Rant more. The thing I just want to say is when it comes to programming on the internet, there was a time period between, I would say, 2003 to 2013 for 10 years that everyone decided to hide their tower where they received their signals. So that people started changing their email addresses, changing their Skype, changing it. As a computer programmer, I want to get the signal right to where it needs to go. But I'll just use Heiner as an example because he looks too good right now. I'm just looking at Heiner, I'm sorry. That is awesome. So Heiner might have 3 email addresses, 2 Facebook accounts, 3 Skype accounts, how am I supposed to program something that signals that I think it's not that we all don't want to signal each other properly. It's just which one is the number one place to send it to. And everyone keeps changing. Just when you have a database and you have all the signals correct, then everyone changes it again on you. So as a computer programmer, this is an issue that's individual, where each person has to say, I want to be signaled here, and I am a member of this. So those are the two things. I'm a member of GCC, and I'm signaled this way, and I want to be signaled this way too. So let's make sure that we do that. We signal it.
How about this one?
There's the signaling right there.
It's really
That is a good.
Do we have a
And I
name
think
yet?
we lost our friends. Our friends that were on earlier, I think they think we're crazy.
I think that scared them away.
Do we have a name yet? Like, how about Quackers?
No, she's going to go back to nature. So she's
She's not allowed to get named because then she's already in love with her.
But she's big now. Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, she's big.
there we go.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So is it true that they crap their body weight every day?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's like goes straight through. Yeah.
Well, I talked to Lucy and her duck and her dog earlier today, this afternoon, so I maybe jump in. I think it's serendipity and surprise. It is a supreme test who is meeting when. So I think it is very, very special that the right people meet the right time. So all my bows and honor to who is on deck, with or without hat. My whole concern, I wonder if Sam is now in the hotspot or on the hot chair or whatever you call it. I think it is important to realize what we are doing here. We are in deep waters and we are running a test. It looks like Josh has been doing some look into early days of internet. And when I encountered early 90s the word avatar, it was in Pasadena. I was really surprised what that would mean, that there's another body who is not me. And there's
I lost Heiner.
and
Can the rest of you hear Heiner?
can you hear me?
No.
You were frozen for about 20 seconds, Heiner.
I'm frozen all my life. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I'm done anyway all the time, but to meet all the 5 or 7 of us, you see I'm on my smartphone running out to meet us in real time, face to face and hug to hug.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this whole decision process question up, Heiner, because it's been something that if I let myself, it would frustrate me for the last 9 months, okay? So I'm not going to let it frustrate me, but I'm going to just tag along with your question, which is, how did I make this decision this way? Only 4 people voted yes. 1 person voted no. 16 people abstained. 1,000 other people didn't do anything, you know? So what are we supposed to do? Right? So I think that is a great question for barn raising. And I would like to have that discussed here. And the meta question is, who are we to be discussing that question and making that decision?
The ones who showed up.
Bingo! Now, isn't that true of the poll as well? Is that
Okay,
not true also of the poll?
Okay, I now make a promise and a pledge. I only shared it with Lucy before, I think 2 days ago. It is a document we raise with all the civil society to the heads of states. on how to follow up with the UN on the open working group and 2030 and all these big words to really be inclusive. And the paragraph before the last paragraph, and I was the last paragraph, but I said it much better to be below the Talanoa process and not really pushing too much on the wisdom of the people. It's a part of a large document which might be shared in 2 or 6 weeks. This paragraph I'm going to share with you, because I feel, you especially, Josh, Doug, I know everything about you already, but there are a few people I really want to be closer, hands in hands and face to face. And I had the honor and pleasure to have some spare time with Lucy this afternoon while she was driving. So we all have our times. Sometimes I'm available more than with, and this we have to really be aware that this new media are a new frontier. And the challenges we face, I think a wise man called it in the early 90s, magnetic portals. The internet will bring us more tribalization on a virtual level. They call it now bubbles and vaporware and whatever, in groups. But to move from me think and you think and they think and group thinking and towards spread thinking, you see all these terms are there. This awareness of what this means, how the glut, the media are torturing us. Levi called it the second flood. It is all there. We have to respond, and we tried to respond already 20 years ago. I think this is a really winning squad. Maybe Tammy is missing, or Sam, or whoever I cannot see. This is really to really bundle us together. And anyway, I'm not here. I just wanted to check who is here at the odd times.
No, you're here. Amen. Preach on it. Keep preaching about 20 years ago when Doug, myself, I don't know if Josh Swinder did, Lucy did in her psychic consciousness, Sam, yourself. We want to make this world a great place. And we had an opportunity. Let's just preach on it. It's 19 years. We want to make it a great place. And then all of a sudden this 9/11 thing happened, scared the shit out of everyone. We had a 777, put us all into this fear-based place. And we were building this beautiful infrastructure of connection. And so we had to wait a little bit. Now we're back. Let's do it. It's time.
So I apologize for stepping away for a second. Gail was on her way out, so I wanted to say goodbye to her. Heiner, I know you were in the middle of an exposition, which I caught the tail of, but it was in response to, God, this bigger picture, this bigger question that always seems to come up, and I'm even hesitant to ask it again. It sounds so grating on the ears whenever it gets asked, you know, at least to my ears. But I don't think it's a matter of multiple emails, you know. Doug, by the way, I signaled in the only forum that I knew everyone was, quote unquote, which was Facebook. So I did multiple signals there. I did a poll, I did a follow-up to a poll, I did the announcement. There were at least 3 in the last 4, 5, 6 days. And given that there's no other forum or channel that reaches everyone, I thought it was maybe not a perfect, but a reasonable attempt to try and get to people. And I knew it was not perfect. And I did suspect it would get some people who would be not reached, not in agreement, disputing the process, all of that, which I think is great for barn raising discussions. I really do. So I would really like to ask, how could I have done better in this exercise?
I would like to answer that.
Go, Mr. Bridge.
Well, since we decided to all meet on Facebook, because that's our group, they created a very simple feature for that. It's called events. And you were using that feature a while back. Just go back to that feature and use the events feature. And you can, if you need help programming it, I'll help you. You can program it so it's automated. And then it says who's going, who's interested, who's not.
So I tried doing that. I did create that whole series initially. You know, it was flabbergasting to me. I was flabbergasted to know that I could not edit the series. Either I'm doing wrong or I can't figure it out, but you know, I've dealt with a lot of software in my life, okay? And I deal with UX facilities quite a bit. And I could not figure out how to change or edit that series of events, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Not
I was just going to say the smart.
And also not the least of which is something that another admin posts. Like, for example, Harry posted the initial announcement of the schedule, right? I, as an administrator, could not edit his announcement.
And I can't.
Facebook. They control you. There's the AI being built right there. They're controlling you.
It's not AI, it's AS.
I can't edit your pinned post that has the schedule.
I know. I'm pissing people off by doing this, right? And Harry made it impossible for me to edit his. So everybody who wants to improve it has to destroy something else that somebody else originally put up and put up something new and hope that the other person doesn't take it personally. You know?
And there's the rub. There's the rub right there. Let's raise the barn. You got the barn on your head. Let's take out that rub and fix that. And the way to do it, and this is just my own opinion, everyone can argue it and say it's wrong, is to create an admin, which was you and Tammy for most of this last year, but create two admins, actually one admin, and then we vote on it. And then when that admin's not up to it because they want to take a vacation, then put another admin in there. But there has to be one admin that's bottom lining it.
Okay, so that sounds to me like another how-to. So
hold on, I have another suggestion. Because I think you can skip the formality of that and the formality of a handoff by creating a straw Facebook user. And copy and recreate these pinned posts and calendar program things and whatever. Create them in Universal User 1. And all of the people that are admins know the username and password for Universal User 1. And so different people can log in under that person's name and edit and make changes to all of the community-wide type of postings and functionalities. And then if somebody drops out as an admin and somebody picks up the banner and whatever, you're just handing off the username and password, and it's easy, no fuss, no muss, and nothing majorly complicated.
So I think all of these suggestions are great suggestions. They all solve different parts of the bigger problem. Josh's has some merit, yours has some merit, everybody in the free-for-all has other merits. And I think we all have different things we're trying to optimize, You're clearly trying to optimize for ease of updating the thing. Josh is optimizing for something else. And, I feel that I would optimize against a shared account because it's very un-Engelbartian, because it loses traceability, it loses accountability, it loses transparency. But I'm willing to do all that because we don't have a perfect system right now. And that's why you've got the CMM, and I've got PFTF and Global SIM and DKR, and Josh has a bunch of other suggestions as well. We all are trying to solve a similar but not exact problem. And getting to what we're really trying to optimize is part of product specification, which we haven't done yet. We go immediately to solution without product specification or even problem statement. And it seems so pedantic to do it, but if you don't do it, there's differences. Yes, Mr. Bridge.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say I lived with a lady from MIT in New York City. She was being recruited by the top Wall Street firms, smartest woman I've ever met. And at the same time, the dumbest woman I've ever met in my life, ever. She taught me about hedge funds, but she couldn't turn on the stove. She thought that being the president of the United States was the worst thing ever, but being a supermodel is the highest level of office you can hold in the And this woman was the smartest woman. We've had talks on astrophysics, on money. She was the smartest woman I've ever met, ever. Like, ever. But stupid as stupid could be. And the reason I'm bringing this up is pedantic, circling. You just have to stop for a second and turn on the stove and let it cook. So I'm saying when you go over all these possibilities, it becomes diluted. When you just get into the reality of it, there's 12 people, just get on 4 Zoom calls. All of them will be signaled and say, how do you want to be signaled? Check off the box and signal them that way, and then it's done. And then any new people coming in, how do you want to be signaled? So if I saw some new people, Emmanuel, I didn't see who he was with. How do you guys want to be signaled? It's simple. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It really doesn't.
See, to me, I hear that, and I think it's simple for you, but it's complicated for me. How am I to track how 12 different people want to be signaled? I don't have that information right now. Doug, do you have that information about how the 12 of us want to be signaled? I know I don't.
I have the process map for getting that information from people, having it referenceable in an Excel spreadsheet, which becomes the basis for automating the different signals to the different people with the push of one button.
Right.
So I do have all of that worked out.
Imagine each of us with that little piece of how-to in our brains. Each of us could actually write this up as a how-to, right? And then there would be yours, mine, Heiner's, Josh's, Doug's, Lucy's. Then how do we decide? Because now we have 4 or 5 different proposals. How do we decide?
Just take a vote. Who wants to bottom line it? Do you want to do it? Do it, Sam. Do you want to do it, Doug? Do it, Doug. Someone's got to do it, and if it works, then it works. And if it doesn't, then the next person gets to try.
Okay, good point. So I have written up something called How to Write a How-To. I can send the link. I've actually posted it many times, okay? So I've done that. I've actually said, if you see a gap in our mutual understanding and you think that you can propose a way to do something, write it up and call it How to Do Something, okay? Where do something is that thing you want to teach people how to do or suggest. And you state, this is why I want it. Here are the preconditions, okay? And then here's the steps you follow. And then here's the post conditions. Here's what state you actually achieve in the group if you actually follow this set of how-to. I've written that up as a how-to, and actually the how to write a how-to is actually pretty specific. And it looks complicated, but it's not really. And then as a result of it, Lucy and Tammy and I have written something up, and I forget exactly what the name is, but it's like how to record a meeting and post the video onto YouTube, something like that. So Lucy had input to it, Tammy had input to it, I had input to it. I structured it into a how-to. It's out there, and I bet you not many people know that it exists or have read it.
Where is it?
I shared it with a few people.
It's in Google Docs. It's in Google Docs.
Wait. Let me just, do you mind if I drill down? Do you guys mind if I just drill down why?
Let's do this. This is why we're here.
It's in Google Docs. Is it in the GCC's Google Docs, or is it in Lucy's Google Docs, or is it in, where's the?
It's in a GCC folder in a subfolder called How-Tos.
Where's the GCC folder, and who is shared on it?
Okay, this is an important question, so I'm actually going to look it up and share that link right now. So talk amongst yourselves while I do this.
Sam, you try to find it, and I jump in or muscle in.
Thank you.
The UN has a program, and we had a whatever, and our motto was, much is known, unfortunately in different hats. And this is there since thousands of years. But now through the internet, we have it in million years, and the people don't share the same reality. So it's even much, much worse. So I think we have to confront this reality question of who is we. If we
There is a
start,
how-to called "Who is we?" pretty much.
because there's a me thing, the you thing, the they thing, and the other thing. There's a thing on the spread thing, or the group thing, or the tribal, and whatever thing. All this is theoretically on the deck, but how to do it with people who leave their own selfish mind, ego, interest out. I observed this GCC with much interest. We did before this global challenges to really look into other ways of conversations. And we have a lot of interesting people having their interesting solution to save the planet. Margaret Mead wrote, "Who integrates the integrators?" And some people take on this idea and question every now and then, but what is our common ground if it's not the physical XYZ coordinates? And do we talk through gesture and sign languages, or through telepathy, or through words? All these challenges, some people like Tony Judge have on their agenda. And if we don't go back to whatever, I don't want to drop again names and names and names, go to what is really connecting us in the deep, we are lost. What I wanted to say before I was disconnected, because we have bandwidth problem, is there are approaches with the civil society, I shared it with Lucy, that we look beyond the Talanoa process of the UN in some recommendations we did, which will be published in a couple of weeks, to really look into including the odds and the weirds and the others. Because all your voting is very nice, but the wisdom of the people might be in the few persons who don't agree. So cherishing the people we don't get is a very essence. And this exercises we did with the North American Indians, and later the Maori took it up, where I was with my wife or with my friend looking into that the North American Indians looked at who is not agreeing and how to include him. So all these processes are there. There are in internal documents I shared with Lucy 2 days ago, but I share with us fives. It is very, very hard and a pain, and these documents are without authors. So I'm not part of the group. I don't know anything about it. I will not quote it, but I can give you the draft. So maybe we can talk on that level. And this level of GCC is taking up a very star-high goal. A star-high goal we maybe never be able to achieve, but at least it's focusing or channeling our energies, our whatever focus. So this is, I think, the essence which brought us together. And the technological maze, what kind of platform we use, what kind of protocol, this is part of some techie guys who are also very much needed. but we need to be aware of all this. I just crashed in because I have to crash out, because I found this very interesting. Maybe come again in 6 hours to see who is there on the old schedule. We
I'm
have
actually going to do that myself.
we have here the full moon party, and I have some other reasons. So we have to do it in accordance with the stars and the exact and the fine arts. And actually, that is what I had with Lucy 2 days ago. In the Potsdam Sanssouci Castle, there was the King Frederick who said, everybody can come to me, and it doesn't matter what religion. And over his table was Voltaire and all the French.
Heiner's frozen for me again.
We'll come back.
There were
Heiner, I think we lost you for about 20 or 30 seconds.
Sciences. This is a little in the universe. I'm done.
I didn't get the benefit of your last minute or so.
So come over one day.
I'm hoping with this scheduling faux pas that you'll still welcome me if I come by. So, by the way, I did make reference and I did include 2 links in the shared chat. One is the shared GCC folder, and that's a view-only link. If you have not been added to it, you can see what's there. If you log in under your Gmail account and let Tammy or me or anybody else who's actually in there know, we can add you to it with full read-write access. The second link is my draft of how to write a how-to, how to create a how-to. And if you notice, it follows roughly the format that I described earlier. And so it's a little bit meta because it describes how to write a how-to in a how-to. But if you look at other examples in that folder, you can see one is about creating media and posting it to YouTube. And it's very specific. It's actually quite good. And I think that's the one that I said Lucy, Tammy, and I collaborated on to create. I have about a half a dozen or maybe a dozen other how-tos. They're sitting in Slack right now, so slowly I'm moving them into Google Docs and Google Drive. So I haven't completed that process yet, but I wanted to get the first couple in there so you could actually see the process. So I'm responding to this suggestion I've heard from Tammy, from various of you this day, which is just do it. But just doing it also includes trying to signal about it, as Doug indicates, okay? So I've done multiple signals. While I have not come in here and just took a 1,000,000-watt light bulb and shined it in people's faces, I don't do that sort of thing. I at least try to, light a flare every once in a while. And every few weeks or every few months, I try to bring some attention to it. Now, if it's bad, I should stop, okay? But if people haven't looked at it to see whether it's useful or not, then I'm going to continue trying to light that flare so that it can actually get some attention. And it's up to individuals whether or not I'm doing it too much or not enough. Mr. Bridge.
Just a quick question, and this is going to sound very snippy, but what is the official Facebook group? Just because we've also got to recognize, and the reason I say this is that the GCC...
There ain't none, Josh.
No. So here's the snippy question. I'll just say it. What is the official website?
There ain't none. There's a domain, right? And you drafted something, I've drafted something, Aaron's drafted something, but we as a group haven't got a decision-making process for how we put something up. And therein lies a little bit of, I'm letting a little frustration enter my voice. This has been something we've been facing now for about a year.
So can we take a vote and a poll and signal as many people as possible and put it up?
We can try if we actually like voting. I personally don't
Actually, might I suggest that whoever has burning desire and the skill and the know-how to put it up, and then to signal everybody 6 ways to Sunday via email, Facebook, IM, Twitter, and carrier pigeon that it's up and that it exists. Now, what I'd love to integrate into that as a coincidental piece of the puzzle is the onboarding piece that Josh and I are looking at currently, so that if you do successfully draw meaningful numbers of people and a certain volume of attention, when they land, we actually get their information. So like on a basic level, we know how they want to be signaled, which would be a good first step towards signaling them properly. But I would put it up. I wouldn't get hung up about whether people like it or not, whether they agree with it or not, whether they want to vote thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs sideways, because the bottom line is that the same ratio of people that have an opinion is the same as the 99-1 rule. And the truth of the matter is that most people won't care, but will appreciate the fact of its existence when it's there for them to access it. And that's sort of the way of the world. And if somebody doesn't like it or wants to see an additional tab or page or feature or whatever, they're going to rear their head and ask, or they might volunteer their service to create it. Or both. And that's the emergent, that's the organic and emergent like path and way. And I don't think you have to stand on ceremony of, do we have a process for how we're going to make decisions and ratify decisions and make sure that we have people support people we burp, fart, and sneeze, because the truth of the matter is none of that is required. All that's required is action and outputs that give people an opportunity to experience greater pull, greater facility, greater ease. The piece of the puzzle on the how-tos that for me is missing is the wizard that needs to be built and coded, which I'm not capable of doing because I'm not a coder. But the rudimentary wizard code that sits on top of it that enables somebody to search for a how-to on how to do something and be taken right to the how-to, not here's a link to a directory and then there's a subfolder in the directory and then you open that folder and you see a whole bunch of how-tos and you have to figure out how to find, because there are people for whom that whole sequence and process is technologically beyond them. It's not something that's fluid, that comes naturally, that's easy. It's a really big ask. And for somebody who technologically isn't equipped to find what they're looking for with a wizard-like front end, they're going to bounce off and go away rather than dig until they find the answer.
So Doug, I just posted a link that is an index to the how-to that have been drafted. So it's not a wizard, but it's an index.
So here's the piece of the puzzle. I get that. And all of these pieces, Sam, I consider invaluable. And I would have you continue. And I love what they represent. What I'm talking about is the UX UI end of it, which is for people less technologically sophisticated. On this web page that we're talking about standing up, that there be some buttons that say, if you want to know how to do certain things here, click here, right? And that button takes them to, what is it you'd like to do? Or here's a list of things you could choose to do. Click on that, and it'll take them right into the how-to. That's what I mean by wizard. It's in the UX UI energy of in service to, and recognizing that literally 90% of the users of these devices and the internet and participants in Facebook and participants in groups in Facebook don't have a freaking clue. An address line, a link, maybe they know what that is, maybe they don't. And if they don't, what they do know is a button that says how to on it, and they click on that.
Okay, so maybe to countermand myself, there is a WordPress set up at globalchallengescollaboration.org, and I've made Josh an admin of that probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. Okay. Now, I also have a subdomain called sam.globalchallengescollaboration.org, which is where I might actually do some blogging. I haven't actually done it yet, but Heiner's got that domain. Josh has that domain. Aaron has that domain. Other people have that domain, and they point to various places where they blog. Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I was never able to be the admin because your PHP memory was not working on GoDaddy, so I wasn't able to install it. If that was working, I would have already had it done, and we wouldn't have this conversation. And that was the one thing that didn't work.
Okay, so do you have a site that you want me to point that domain to?
Sure, I'll create that, but someone has to pay for it because I already paid a lot of money, so I don't want to pay any more money. But yeah, I do have a place.
Yeah, and therein is another rub, right? So we have some assets, and we don't have a decision-making process for how to manage these assets. You know?
How much is needed to fix this piece?
It's not a question of how much is needed. It's a question of other people have contributed hundreds, if not thousands, of other hours doing other things. So is this the first thing we're going to pay for, or are those other things going to be recognized as well? And I highlight Kenny's efforts, for the last year. She's done, thousands of hours of work collecting media, posting media, doing whatever. I've done hundreds of hours of work doing similar things. Other people have done very similar things, volunteering their time, moderating these meetings, blah, 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 blah. So when it comes to expenses, why is this the first thing that we have to pay for? I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying we don't have recognition of all the contributed value that people think that they've put into this community. And for us to make quick flip half-second decisions about paying for websites is disrespecting what's come before it.
Yeah, but maybe we can, that's coming back to that we have to make these decisions as a group again.
Yeah. And by the way, I did pay for the domain. Okay, so I'm paying for it. I'm not asking for any recompense. I'm just doing it. Okay.
Why I asked is because I signed up to this monthly contribution, and we're talking about making decisions individually. So my question to Josh was going to be, how much is this last piece that's needed going to cost? So I, as an individual person, might say, okay, I'm not going to make that monthly contribution for 2 months. I'm going to pay for that instead. And that feels to me a bit more like how would, if we want to get some initiative going, why is that wrong? Why do we have to make a decision on everything and vote on it? Because we're repeating the same problem, aren't we, over and over?
And we will continue to repeat the problem if we do this haphazard. I'll give you an example, okay? In 2008, I and 7 other people put together a conference for Doug Engelbart called Program for the Future. And one of our people was actually the curator of the museum, the Tech Museum in San Jose. So he said, let me put the domain together. We have servers, we have web space, let me just do it. 3 or 4 years later, he resigns or he retired or something. That whole website is taken down. I cannot get access to that content. He cannot get access to that content. So all that years, all those hours, all those valuable videos and conference materials are lost because we can't get it out of the Tech Museum of San Jose. That's what happens when we don't actually, as a group, figure out what to do with our assets. And I've seen it so many times. I hate to be the blithering idiot that pours water over proposals, but if you don't think about these things, this will happen again. Mr. Bridge.
I agree with you. It will happen again. And the way to keep it from happening again is to make a copy of those assets and put them into a storage area that's owned by the group. And that's why I was proposing WordPress, because it's actual code that's open source, so nobody owns it. So the person that built it can't later on say, well, I built it until I get my compensation for that code. I'm not giving it to the group. So if we build it in an open source way, the other nice thing about the WordPress ability is you can clone and back up to separate areas. So you could have not just 2 copies, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 copies, 12 copies if you want. And I love the idea moving forward as a group where we all have copies of everything. And I think that's why the group is loving talking about holochain, but we can do that now. We don't have to wait till holochain. We can all have copies of all the videos.
Let's just put it up at
access.
GitHub.
Exactly. So I'm saying, let's get it started. I think that was an old problem with an old paradigm, which is definitely worth looking into, but we don't have that problem at this moment in time.
No, but if you go meta, there's definitely people as you are, Josh, because you have experience doing this and you know the pain of losing content as I do, okay? So there are many of us who have experience in different domains. Some of us have experience in collaboration like Heiner. Some of us have expertise in software development. Some of us have expertise in content management. So each of us has seen problems and have seen solutions to those problems that the rest of us lay people in those domains have not seen. And if we don't allow these people to use their knowledge for the betterment of this community, then we're going to have the quote unquote lowest common denominator functionality or problem set that's represented by the group. You are representing knowledge about version control, which by the way, I credit Doug Engelbart for, okay? I'm representing that we've tried to build community multiple times before and seeing ad hoc decision-making processes cost groups years down the line. And I so much want to avoid that waste that I am somewhat pedantic about these agreements and how-tos. And I'm going to keep saying that until I get kicked out of this group. And even then, I'm going to keep saying it, okay? These things are important. It's important to think. It's important to write down decisions. It is important to make agreements. It is important to improve agreements. It is important to learn. It is important to disseminate decisions. It is important to understand assets. It is important to understand liability. It is important to understand how to solve problems. All of these things are important for any group to function, any individual to function. And if we don't make these understandings and disseminate them, we will not function. And we have not functioned for a year. And I think that I and you and others are expressing some frustration with that. And I'm letting a little bit creep into my voice because it is not a new issue. And we want so much for this thing to be emergent, but emergent still requires agreement and still requires explication in the form of written decisions, things that can be improved. Decisions that are written down are not written in concrete. They're written in bits. Bits are easy to reconfigure into other bits. It's not like, marble, the way it was thousands of years ago. So the fact that we write things down seems to have this very negative implication or nuance or connotation to some, and I really don't understand it. Let's really be different. Let's recognize that writing down things in an electronic format is a way to share and a way to learn. It's not a way to prescribe. It's not a way to restrict. It's not a way to apply a patriarchy. It's a way to learn and improve. So I think that this is a hurdle we must get over. Done. Over.
Sam, I have to grab and leave because not only the ACDC is running out, but I have to leave. I'm fully with you, but putting it into words is not the right thing. It has to be done in reciprocal sharing and trusting. So love is not what you expect, but what you give. So all these technological issues, it's function, features, benefits. And we have so many generations of technology taking place, at least the last 40 years I can witness. So stucking into protocols or agreements is not helping us. It is just going beyond the agreement, going beyond the protocols. And I think we're here on a very interesting way. It is a challenging new way, and we are including the old. And I'm repeating myself, I just wanted to really muscle in to say, I'm gone because I'm not supposed to be here anyway. But watch out, I might be coming, sneaking in the evening in 5 or 6 hours. Good night and good luck.
Heiner, before you go, I have to say, I really don't understand that last statement because I love what you say about love. I do think it is in the presentation and delivery of it and emanating and being of it. But I don't see why writing things down takes away from that. I don't.
Oh, I believe in writing it down. It is only the fundamental first step.
Oh,
and even
absolutely.
if someone hasn't written it down, you still can love him.
Yeah, no disagreement there. And we've been doing that for years.
Maybe an animal cannot write or whatever.
Okay, I'm losing Heiner again.
You can still hug him and bye.
Heiner disappeared.
I think he said what he needed to say. I feel you, Sam, and I love that you've spent a year gathering us all together and that we're all thinkers. And I love that, like, for me, I just get pigeonholed into, oh, you work in WordPress, so you're a tech guy. I spent 3 years in the Occupy movement. I spent many years in New York. I have a lot of other things I want to offer to the group. I just want this one out of the way so I can start offering those things, because this, to me, seems trivial. I mean, we all like hanging out with each other on Zoom calls. I'm sure we can barn raise and do more. I just feel like the barn raising itself is my favorite part of GCC. I love that that was what attracted me to this forum, because I came in on an open discussion and a game playing, and then to know that there was 3 other calls. Like, I came in on one call and knowing there's 3 others, I think this forum is perfect if we use the barn raising. I just think we, you know, I've said this many times, we might not have it all together, but together we have it all. We have smart enough people to figure all this stuff out. So I did experience in the Occupy movement nothing getting done for a year and a half until people started bottom lining things. And it was the younger kids from the college that came in and said, I really want to do this. Will you let me do it? And the group said, yeah, go ahead. Report back to the group what you got accomplished. So we can bottom line things. I believe in you, Sam. I believe, you know, you've got the global.com, global challenges, collaboration.org.com. You bought that, just donate it to the group. I bought Basecamp, I donated it to the group. I'm gonna, if no one's using it, I'll take it away because I don't want to pay for something that no one's using. But together, Lucy's, like, she made a really good point. She donated on the Open Collective. I grabbed the whole entire list of everyone that donated so we could all see who donated. I noticed, I don't think it was you, but maybe it was some other admin, put the official website for the group on Facebook is globalchallengescollaboration.wordpress.com. That's the official website at this moment.
I think that was Aaron.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Lucy?
Yeah. I'm just going to talk about, like, what I want and then see if that helps. I really want us to have a website. I have people asking that in other networks I'm part of, oh, where can I read something about this? I have to say, okay, well, the best thing is that you kind of go to the Facebook group or you read this blog. So I would really like that we have one. My preference would be that it's not a WordPress address. And I don't know if that's a bias I have from other things, but, you know, a .org or a .com or a whatever feels a bit more appropriate. And I'm willing to write content. I've built a few Squarespace websites, but I don't really know how to use other programs, but I'm willing to write stuff. But I think we just need to get on and do it and not I just feel like we have this decision-making conversation over and over, and we actually don't need to be having it. We just need to decide, whoever is there in the room at the time, we make a decision and we follow it up with action. And then we move forward. Does it have to be more complicated?
I second that. I really believe it's about just taking action. And if there's an issue or a tension that arises, we'll hear about it. Somebody will stick their hand up in the air and go, excuse me. And I think even in the early stages. So Josh, what are we talking about in terms of hosting for a year for the .com or .org domain? Or for upping the WordPress presence in such a way so that it doesn't carry the WordPress brand in the address? Is there a way of doing that in WordPress?
Yeah, well, I could have Sam just point it over to my server. I could build it on that server, and then hopefully by that time the group decides what server it's going to live on.
Well, I mean, what would a server cost? If you based on services out there, what's the annual cost?
The annual cost is anywhere between $110 a month to $240 a month. I mean, a year, excuse me.
Okay.
Well, then if we find out how much it is and it matches up to what the cost is for, or roughly to this donation I have every month, then I just pay that for a year and I stop that thing for a year. Then we're done. Then we move forward.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just with the four of us,
and I think,
including
and I think if we ran it up the flagpole if we ran it up the flagpole with the people that are immediately sort of present and accounted for, I know I'd be willing to contribute to that. And
I can turn the computer and do it right now.
And if the persistence runway, and if the persistence runway that we want to create initially, in service to Sam's concern about having enough time to figure out backup and persistence and protection, right, of collateral that's generated and work that's generated, and we need to do 2 years, which usually means if you buy 2 years up front, the per year cost goes down, then that's the number. And if 24 months as opposed to 12 months gives him the comfort margin that gives us 2 years to tackle that issue, then I would agree to upping it to 2 years and contributing to that pari passu, as somebody. So I really think it's just a matter of speaking to the action, the immediate and emergent action need and pressure. And there are enough people from enough different directions coming at this with needing our presence, needing our face, needing paths and connections and ways in, needing contextualization, needing, all of those things. We're hearing a loud enough from enough different directions and people internal and some external that we can respond to that. And we have the wherewithal to do it. Let's do that.
You guys probably won't go in like 70 seconds.
Okay. I actually am observing, and this is not an objection, I am observing that much of the skill set required here to do what we want, that Josh has in his head, that I have some in my head, I hope we don't dismiss it as coming from the old industrial brain. I mean, it does represent project management, it does represent knowing how to build websites, which people have been doing for 25 years. It does represent, a lot of current industrial frame processes and technologies, okay? And the reason I bring this up is because it's the old message of let's not toss out the baby with the bathwater. So I've always got this little niggle in the back of my head whenever we say, that's old thinking or that's old industrial framework thinking. There's a lot of it that actually turns out to be useful. And I want us to be able to have that discernment to understand what to use and what not to use and how to think about it.
I think it's a process. So if we have to use parts of the old system, fine, let's do it so we can move forward. And then we can transition, let's use the new system where we can, and we use the old system where we can't. And then at least we get moving.
That's the art of the transition. That's always the art of the transition.
And I just wanted to say...
Echo. Cancel.
Go ahead, Doug.
No, well, I just wanted to say, the reason I keep sort of invoking emergence is not that in the emergent there can't be features of codification, features of fixing things or of publishing things or of creating artifacts and whatever. I'm not suggesting that emergence means chaos or anarchy. But the concept of emergence is, let's not construct and do things in the abstract or hypothetical. Let's do them in service to the need, the concern, the issue, the thing that comes up as we progress. And so we stand up a website and we start iterating content and all of this other stuff. And Sam, the underlying substantive issue you raised is, then it goes away. We lose it because somebody 2 years or 3 years or 4 years doesn't want to pay the hosting or whatever. And so that's a legitimate concern. I get that. I relate to that, and I think we need to address that. I'm less worried about a decision-making process around that. I'm more interested in how do we address that, right? And do we have to address that up front in order to stand up a website and start, presenting ourselves, publishing ourselves? No. Do we have to solve that sooner rather than later to not be at risk? Yes. So where I went was, would 24 months be enough of a comfort margin for you, where we all recognize this is a legitimate concern and issue, and we're going to have to figure out a solution for this within the next 24 months that works, that guarantees that what we do, what we build, and what we put up doesn't evaporate or get lost or we get locked out from it.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question in a meta way, okay? I will heartily 1,000% support this course of action with one proviso. And that is that I will always be suggesting how to learn and how to improve what we do. And it's going to sound like I'm heckling sometimes, but I really mean it with the best of intent, with the most possible love for this community, because I want this community to thrive and be resilient and anti-fragile and all those kind of things, okay? And like you, Doug, like you, Josh, like many people here, Lucy, we've all been around a few blocks and we've all learned different things, okay? And one of the things that I shy from is this preference for action. I mean, I don't say this as a navel gazer. I say this because in a linear way of thinking, if I see a problem and I solve a problem, that's a very narrow way of thinking rather than thinking systemically. Now, there are ways of thinking systemically that paralyze one, and I recognize that. Somewhere in there is a balance. And somewhere in there is the skill and guild craft of community building and future futureneering. But I suspect that seeing a problem, solving a problem is too linear. And I will always try to point that out. Over.
Then maybe that's your role, Sam, is to be the person who sees that perspective and then to be like, no, we need to do this also.
Yeah, and when Doug was in those conversations, this is what gave Doug this reputation of being difficult to work with. He would always say, but you haven't thought of this. And people would get very frustrated by that.
Do you know, it feels
he was definitely thinking at a level that most people were not thinking. And I'm not saying I'm Doug. I'm just saying I recognize the kind of questions he was asking.
But it feels like you're anticipating criticism or resistance to bringing that awareness out. Yes. And I don't think you need to.
Okay.
I think you should.
Yeah, I really like to second that. I think, bring what you bring, but you can take the gloves off. Like, I've got no problem with a partner that says, yo, what about this and that and the other? Because, not having awareness or taking care of it is putting all of our asses at risk. Like, who's going to say no or not like that or appreciate that? it is a balance of, in the moment, the perfection thing. Is it good enough to get us another step down the road? Can we reasonably figure out how to incorporate and address that concern in the course of action, like the difference between buying 2 years of hosting up front instead of one, so that we know there's 100% guarantee we've got 24 months where we don't have to worry about, we run out of fuel or the plug getting pulled, right? So, I think it's a balancing act, and right now we're sort of like, trying to get to crawl. We're not even trying to get from crawl to walk. At this point, we're just trying to get to crawl. And I think if we just take a handful of steps, a lot of resource potentially could start to flow in. A lot of other people could potentially start to flow in because there's more for them to plant hooks into and to connect with as something to participate and join in. And at a certain point, do I believe there's going to come a time where somebody's going to raise their hand and go, so who made you guys king, and how are decisions being made, and what about my voice, and blah, blah. Yeah, like that emergently is going to happen at some point at a certain scale with a certain number of people and a certain decision point that like is not effortlessly subject to either I don't care or I agree. And there aren't any dissents that we haven't dealt with, right? So it's going to happen. It'll come. But like my inclination with that kind of stuff is let's cross that path when we get there. The thing you raised about we have collective resources, but we don't have any agreement about how we're going to spend those or how they're going to get distributed. That is a huge, like yawning black hole. And I recognize that is what it is. And I'm saying we can send out a signal and we can invite flow of money in without answering that, but we also ain't spending anything until we do answer that in a way that's transparent and that's collective and that's cohesive and that everybody is aligned with and is okay with. And that conversation and debate is going to be hell to pay and bloody and long and drawn out and chaotic, I have no doubt. But we don't have to, what I've been trying to assert is there isn't a dependency of one with the other as between resource and money flowing in and how is it to be distributed within the ecosystem. And if we can break those kinds of logjam dependencies from a freeing of thinking and generativity and creativity and innovation standpoint and start moving and tackling pieces, not movement for the sake of movement, not action for the sake of feeling or saying that we're in action about something or we're producing something, but because the pressure is pushing us. And that's how I'm experiencing this, because there's enough pressure, there are enough people in enough constituencies and enough contexts that are saying, what's the it here? We need something. We need to see something, touch something, smell something. And I'll advocate action in the face of pressure every day. But never, action for action's sake, ever. I'll be the first one to become a campfire spear carrier, stand behind you, Sam, and go, no, not yet. You can't, ask a one-legged man to play soccer and not expect him to fall down.
I have one small reservation about that, and that is that action in the face of pressure is reaction.
Well, you could say it's action in the face of demand. It doesn't have to be pressure, it's demand, and then it's a response. It's not a reaction.
Yeah. It's pull-based. Yeah, it's pull-based rather than...
One can anticipate by applying some experience and judgment and awareness rather than waiting. And I think we've actually taken the waiting game to an extreme in this particular group. We could argue that the first 100 people were wanting the same website that we're trying to create today, except now we're over 1,000 people. And those 1,000 people have been waiting for us to do something. And You know, it could have been 10,000, who knows? But I think at some point, whether it's 12 or whether it's 100 or 1,000, we recognized it. Why did it take 1,000 people to show up before we actually took this action? You know?
Why does that matter?
It matters because we could have done so much with those first 200 or 1,000 or whatever.
But how does this help us, Sam, to point that out?
What?
How does that help us to be having this conversation? I
It
feel
helps us
like
because it recognizes
wait a minute.
how we blocked ourselves.
But it feels like you're arguing with yourself or with
No, I'm not. I'm arguing with the way we have conducted ourselves in the past year because we've not made certain decisions and not made certain agreements and not written certain things down and not applied certain how-tos because we've blocked ourselves.
But I think you have to let that go. What?
That's in the rear view.
Resolve the issue. I'm not sure we've resolved the issue.
Well, I'm not sure that it's an issue. I think it's an evolution, and it's been a process of growing. And a lot of the growth and a lot of the evolution has been in completely intangible realms in terms of how we share, how we talk to each other, how much generosity of time and space and patience we evolve for navigating through. And I don't think unless we were ready to do what we're now talking about doing, if we were ready 6 months ago, there's a saying, the universe will only give you what you're ready to handle. And on a group basis, I think the same thing is true, that we've gotten to this point through an evolution and progression, and there's a coherent core group of people that are present and accounted for, not going anywhere and committed. And we're now getting to like cases and concrete things and all the rest. So for my purpose, I look at the last year as a learning, a huge learning in patience, a huge learning in listening, a huge learning in letting go of things. This is all for me personally, for letting go of ownership and attachment to mine, for all sorts of progression, for all sorts of personally progressive evolutionary developments that I'm bringing to the party, and that I now also carry out of this particular community and exhibit in other places where it's having profound and powerful ripples in terms of the effect on others that are seeing new ways of relating and being around whatever the endeavor is. So, I don't think, to Lucy's point, we can look in the rearview mirror, but there's absolutely nothing we can do about anything over our shoulder. What we can do is look at the page that's in front of us today, because each day is a new page, and figure out what do we want to write on it now. And where do we go from here as a generative, creative act every day? And I couldn't be happier or more thrilled that I've got people to play with that know how to do the stuff I can't do. Like if I knew how to code, if I knew how, I built a website with Weebly, but do I know how to code, and do I know how to, and when I got into issues with the underlying HTML and dug into the code and went cross-eyed and was like, I don't have a freaking clue. I can't do anything if I'm not on their hamster trail of drag and drop and whatever. And so, I can bring what I can bring, but I know what I can't bring. And the fact that we now have, a core group that has the capability to stand things up and to realize things and to guide and facilitate and create, I'm thrilled. I view that as a huge evolutionary leap.
We left there's
I will take that perspective and I will contribute in a way that is not backward looking, okay? I don't yet know exactly what that means, but I'll try to do that.
It's like we get what we expect, don't we?
I don't know.
So if we expect that all of these problems are going to come up, we tend to end up with having that land on our lap. Whereas if we go, okay, that's how it was last time, now we're going to have something different.
We'll create them. If, you know, we create that which we fear the most. If I'm carrying around anxiety and fear about what's going to, you know, the risk side, the downside, the failure side, the challenge side, I'm absolutely going to create that. I'm absolutely going to bring that to the party. It's a law of the universe.
We're going to have an awesome website. Let's look at it that way. And we'll figure out whatever bumps in the road that pop up when they come.
Well, what just happened?
Somebody's sharing something.
I think you're muted, too.
Oh, right. Josh is sharing. Okay, got it.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just saying that I just went onto my server into the PHP, put up a whole database so we can organize everything. And now we have a website with no pages. I installed that theme, that expensive theme, so we can do whatever we want and we can get it going. But I think the most important thing is all these awesome assets that you created be formalized into a way that's easy to sort through. And I think the one thing that would be awesome just in ever since I came to this group is to have an action group that forks off of the GCC that just goes back through all the meetings from the last year and makes little clips that have to do with very important conversations and then organize it by title heads of blog posts. So someone can just type in, like Google, any word they want and it pops up the exact moment of that conversation where it was discussed. And I think that would be utilizing the assets of those hundreds of hours of Tammy and everyone else in the group. And that's a lot of work. That's going to like building a website's no big deal. Organizing the content, curating it, tagging it, and making it useful for new members coming in, that's the hard work. That's what I want to get to. So I'm just showing you.
Sam was actually doing some of that by brute force, which I'm not an advocate of because I think we'd die under the load. But I believe we should be able to automate on a batch basis the creation of the transcript, a clean transcript file, you know, off of the audio recording in Zoom, and then automate on a batch basis again, cleaning out in that version things like, you know, characters and format stuff and whatever to make it legible, readable, and then figure out some really, really rudimentary, again, that to map to, you know, a sort of semantic index of, you know, these 10 or 15 words were the most.
Are you guys hearing Doug clearly?
No, you're breaking up, Doug.
Yeah, Doug, you're breaking up quite a bit.
As insights into what the theme of the conversation is.
What you said, Josh, about the clips and stuff, like I'm definitely willing to sit and do those kind of things. If we divide it up, and if, you know, you manage to get one done a week, but if everyone does a bit now and again, before we know it, we'll have 20 clips, and then we'll have 50 clips, and then.
I agree.
I must have dropped out, so I guess you didn't hear anything that I said about batch processing, or you did catch it?
No, that dropped out.
I don't believe it's a manpower, horsepower task. I think we should be able to figure out on a batch processing basis how to take audio recordings of the Zoom sessions, convert them into transcripts. Sam was doing some of that manually, I know. Convert them into transcripts, do low-level analysis of word frequency. So the top 5 or 10 words that are utilized, you know, in a clip, mapped to sort of the memes or subjects that were talked about. And we can develop a rubric that makes sense of that. And if we can process the video, the audio recordings of the videos on a batch basis, we can automate a lot of
We're losing you again, Doug.
Doug, you're really breaking up.
that knowledge and information and theme and subject extraction. I'm breaking up. Yeah. I'm not going to get this out. It's not going to happen. Universe does not want this to be shared. I give up.
Actually, Doug, just as a curiosity, do you know where your Wi-Fi WAP is? And could you sit closer to it?
Not unless I sit on some stairs right under it. But I'm almost in a direct available line of sight. I'm going to be getting a new machine momentarily, and hopefully these problems will go away. I'm working on it.
I was hoping it was on my end, but it seemed like our difficulties were shared.
Yeah, I'm working on a dinosaur, so it's on my end. I think the Wi-Fi is failing in this laptop. Well, listen, folks, I'm out of bandwidth. I've got to go. But Sam, also, I don't want to let you off the hook from your barn raising session about you. And this one got completely co-opted, and it wasn't that. So you're up next week, and I'm going to hold you to it being about you, because I don't want that process to be aborted or truncated or compromised, if that's okay.
No, that's definitely appreciated, Doug. I did have some other topics along that line that I was thinking of bringing up, but the first one seemed to have taken us down this nice, rich conversation. So I liked the way it went and the way it flowed. I think some good issues got brought up, and some good triggers got expressed, and some good frustration got into my voice. So we'll see how fun this is to relive. But it also looks like we have lots of people wanting to take action. So let's see what happens. Josh, why don't you give me the link to which I should point to the globalchallengescollaboration.org domain?
It's already there.
It's in the chat. I'm going to hop, guys. I'm sorry I have to leave a little bit early, but I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. All right. As soon as I get off this call, in about 5 minutes after that, I should be able to have this domain pointed. So what say you all? We've been going for about 90 minutes. I think it's probably too late to bring up another topic. Have we pretty much exhausted this one, or is there more to be done here?
I think the main topic I want to bring on is who's working on what. So let's just say the signaling for volunteering, like Lucy and I just signaled each other, we both want to start going through the calls and organizing them. And so we're creating a place to do that everyone can be signaled to. And then also pulling the content from all the different places. Like today was the first day I saw that folder, so thank you. So I'm just saying, I just want one place to put it all into, and then I'm happy to back it up and move it off to another server. So whatever server we decide to do it on, as long as it's in that WordPress format, it's got an SQL database, and it's got a front end that's open source, so it can be moved to anywhere you want.
Let's be careful about that, because let's figure out how much it costs to put, let's say, a terabyte or more of video data. I'm not sure that a website is the best place for it. You know, YouTube is
the video data would stay on YouTube.
Exactly.
What you do, you go to YouTube where it says 6 minutes and 37 seconds in, and you press copy, and then it just starts at that place. You don't have the end. We're not truncating it. But at least that way we could tag it, because you also, if we match it up to, I don't know how you're putting the transcription. How are you doing that, Sam?
It's actually automatically produced by YouTube hours after it gets posted. However, if you just copy paste it, it's in a very unreadable format. So I just have a very simple script that just, you know, lines up and removes some of those line feed character turn characters and just makes it a little bit more readable and compact. And then I paste it into Google Docs so it can be easily referenced and centrally accessed. That's all I do. It's very simple. It's like minutes, if anything. I should just automate it sometime. I will probably write an automated script sometime to do more of that task. Right now, part of it is scripted, part of it is manual. It's not as much work as I think it is.
Well, that's great. And I saw the Excel spreadsheet. A lot of, you know, some of the meetings get lost. I have one from last Friday, I think it was, that I still have to post up. I'm waiting for my my data to recycle at the end of the month so I can even post it, because I'm on limited data. I'm out in the woods. So.
Oh, you're using a cellular data plan?
I'm using a satellite.
Oh, you're capped on a satellite link? Wow.
So each meeting I come to takes up a lot of my resources, and I've got to save that for my clients. So it's all about balancing data. That's where if I was in town, I would have had all this done a long time ago. But I'm saying, like, yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, we all do what we can, I guess. Let's see. So,
in other words, I was just going to ask you if you could signal working groups on the Facebook group, have a poll that says, because I'm not an admin, so I can't do this, have a poll that says who wants to work on.
Well, let me make you an admin. I don't know what controls admin access, but I think those who are active should be admins. Both of you should be admins.
If you want to make me an admin, that would be great. I'm happy to do a poll. I think Lucy's an admin, but I'll do a poll that says who wants to help lay out. I think we kind of solve this problem right now. Is there's going to be challenges that are going to come up where people say, I want to be involved in doing this and have my say in this. But as long as we cap it off for a moment until the project is done, then if people don't like it, they can redo the project again later with a different group. But everyone can just try the best that they can. It's just the way it works. It's inefficient from a technology standpoint, but humanity. And then once there's 6 people in a group, or let's just say it was 5 people, then I'll know how to signal all 5 people individually, each 5 people, who wants to be signaled what way. And then we'll put an end date on the group, and we'll come back to a show and tell on a Friday and say, it's been 3 weeks. This is what we did. Here's our show. Here's our tell. And then if someone wants to do it better, this group is out. If anyone from the group wants to stay in and keep doing it, but then those people can be out. And then that way things just flow and function.
Good idea.
So 2 thoughts on that. I'm actually, and this is heresy, less interested in what gets done than how it gets done. Okay? So let me just say that right up front. So a lot of the signaling and the transparency you're just talking about has to do with, you know, whether or not we actually have a good shared conversation space, or whether we actually do have a good action item tracking system where people can see what people are doing, right? I know the Basecamp has such a facility, but you say, you know, we're not yet entirely there, and you have to figure out whether you want to continue paying for it. So those questions will still persist. But I just bring that up in the sense that I will still propose that we think about how to do that transparency within this group. And then we can make that a future conversation. You
lost me at the end there. How to do the transparency for the group. I'm talking about just forking, not the whole group, but just forking together the people that want to work on the new website.
Right. The people is one thing, but just how do we make that transparent and shared with the community is the question that I'm interested in.
Can I show you?
No, I'm saying any simple solution any one of us can come up with. I'm just interested in how we make that transparent to the entire group while still achieving the purposes that serve to track things, make it shareable, make it where everybody can contribute, make it where everybody can track it, all of those sort of things.
So here's my point is everyone can't contribute. There's a deadline and a time where people decide, let's just say we give it 1 week. Anyone that wants to be involved has 1 week to get involved. And then the door closes for 2 weeks, and then the door opens back up. The people that say, I want to go on the field trip, go on the field trip, but when the bus leaves, the bus leaves. You can't be stopping the bus for every person that says, wait, I'm there, I'm coming, I want to go. It's like, hey, the door's closed, but there'll always be the exceptions, meaning there'll be someone that says, hold on, I got a really fast car, watch, I'm going to speed up to the next gas station, we're going to meet the bus, and then you can get on the bus. We'll figure that out. I think we'll be okay. But we do have to make some sort of thing where if it's always open-ended forever, that's what I see happening is everyone can join always forever.
No, that's actually fine. I recognize the agile ideas in what you're proposing, and I'm actually a strong supporter of that. So let's apply agile where we can. And
I just wanted to say, just from my own, because my sanity, so I literally went crazy. I called Doug crying the other day. I'm just sharing my screen. Here's the GCC. I opened it up to the entire world. Everyone can join. And then I started pinging people, asking them if they really want to be on here. So I'm going to keep this open, but I'm going to fork it off over to the GCC action group. And I'll communicate to all the people on there. I'll do that signaling and say, if you want to be on the action group, come over here. Here's the action group. And the only action that the action group is doing at this moment is putting up a website with all of the assets on in one place. And then I'll hand it back over to you and Tammy, meaning everything that's been done. And then you guys can decide what to do with it. If you want to trash it at that point, trash it. I don't care. But at least something got done and there's a place with organization. And right now at this moment, it's Charlie, Aaron, let's see, who is this person? Dave, Tex Smith, Doug, Glenn, myself are the people in the action group. And I'll go ahead and add Lucy on here. And I'm not going to add you, Sam, on the action group because you can come later afterwards and clean it all up. Because if that's okay. And then I can delete the other one. And I haven't gotten confirmation. I've sent in asking for confirmation, so this might not be everyone that's on the group. Not everyone might be in here. And all it is to do the stupid stuff. I just want to be like really straight out is, oh, look, what template should we use? Well, let's load a layout. So it's like, I'd rather deal with the actual assets as opposed to, is it going to look like this? Or is it going to look like this? Or is it going to look like this? And I'm actually partial to this layout right here. Let's see. I love the idea of a search bar right in the top. Being able to search right away. Hmm. So I'm going to, but here's the great thing about this environment that I'm working in. It's completely flexible. So things can get reconfigured later on. So it doesn't have to just be one. Most like Squarespace, you get one template. Once you pick it, that's it. Mm-hmm. In here, you can switch and change and it's modular. And the other thing I just wanted to show you, I don't think you've seen this, Sam. The reason why I wanted to choose this one is because of the ability to drag and drop and mix and match.
It did walk me through Divi. I did see that. So it looks pretty powerful.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And getting better and better. So that's why I wanted to use this, is because I don't expect the website to be right when I first put it up. I expect people to go in and mix and match and move things around.
Okay,
as long as it's working.
It's a matter of logistics. So the WordPress instance that I have currently at the domain, I should just dismantle that, right? Because you were not able to get in, you were not able to make it work.
That install never installed. The one that you have, you can do whatever you want with that.
Okay.
And are you going to use .org or .com?
I was going to point .org at this, but I don't care. We can point .com at this if you like.
I think .org is good. And I remember a conversation
Yeah, I was going to suggest one or the other, either way, but point the other one at the word globalchallengescollaboration.wordpress.com, because that can be a sandbox for ideas that get moved over to this place. So if people are like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's slowing the group down, they can go sandbox in that area. And when great things come out of that, they can move it over to the official website, whether it be .com or .org. So whatever the official one is that you choose, point the other one, because a lot of people are not going to be able to signal log in as quickly as they can to the sandbox area.
Actually, if it's a sandbox, I would just create sandbox.globalcollaboration.org and do it that way. Yeah.
There was a
So I'm just
conversation.
showing you.
There was a conversation a while back about this .com or .org, and from what I remember, there was quite a strong consensus that we shouldn't have .com for our main address. We should have .org.
Yeah, I agree. But the reason for having it is so that it doesn't get used by some other group, and then we confuse identity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So those are things that I'm happy to. I just want to get it to a point where I can open up the discussion in another format, just so things are there, just so there's some sort of place to play, and maybe 3 videos organized, and then people can say, well, I really want this, and Doug might say, I want to be able to onboard people in a way that they're signaled, and just start building those things, and they either work or they don't. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it'd be nice as a group to know, like right here, I get stuck. Global Challenges Collaboration is a group. Is like, what is the text? Where would I find the text to put up on here at the official?
By the way, not answering your question, but I have Global Challenges Collaboration .whatever, and also Global Challenges Community .whatever. So I've got both sets of domains.
Well, point whichever one you want over and just let me know. And
Yeah.
I'm
The
going
link that
in.
you provided, I will go ahead and point the .org to it.
And for right now, this is our About section.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah.
I can write something like pulling together. I don't know. I'll pick out pieces of what Glenn's written, what I've written. May write some paragraphs, at least as a start, and stick it in there.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I just sent you the link over to the GCC action group right here. And the only thing I put into the GCC action group, I'm actually going to take out the schedule and the automatic check-ins for right now, and just have a to-do list. So I'm taking these 2 out.
So, for example, if I'm to write a document that's a first draft of an about description, shall I write that in Google Docs and then invite people to comment, or should it go in Basecamp, or how do we do this now?
So, sure, write it in Google Docs, and I just made a to-do for you.
Okay.
Copy. Here, I'll just make it quick. Copy Lucy for homepage, and assign it to you. Notify me. Due on. So I'll go ahead and start the project now and cap it off. I'll put what date do you want it to be due on? Just to signal.
In a week's time or something, that I've done it by then.
I'll put it Friday to signal.
Yeah, do that.
So I'll put up dummy text in between. And then I just want to show you real quick, when you go in here, you click on the actual to-do itself, copy from.
Yep.
And once you click on that, here's a discussion about it. So you can just put the link to the Google Doc here.
Perfect, okay. That's great, now I will remember.
Yeah, and if, Sam, let's, at some point I would like to work with you, Sam, too, to start organizing where everything is and say some stuff shouldn't go on the website. I don't want to put things on there that shouldn't. But I think the great thing about having a centralized location is we can just turn it off and turn it on. So if something's there that shouldn't be there, it can get turned off and turned on. And you can have private areas, etc. So
I think the important thing about a presence is that it actually is a index or kind of a front page to things, you know. And if things are in SoundCloud versus YouTube versus Google Docs versus someplace else, it shouldn't matter so long as it's organized there.
exactly. So I should probably name the page.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey, if you're going to actually go work now, I'm probably going to drop off now, Josh.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
I've just been wanting to do
Is there
this for
anything
4
that we
months.
can
So
continue with?
appreciate. I'll let you drop off. I'm just saying, if it helps the group get organized and we have polls on there and things on there that just work, and you can go to globalchallengescollaboration.org, awesome, or .com, whatever it ends up being, because that way I can signal people there. And I'll make sure that everyone that's running the different 4 Zoom calls have access to the official calendar area. And it'd be nice to get off of Facebook and have Facebook point over there, because then when you come onto Facebook, you know there's the one place you're searching.
It solves all that admin rubbish.
Yeah. As a meta comment, you know, every time I've been part of community building, there's always 2 places that we work. One is the community itself, the large community. The other is the place where, I hate to use this term, but the active or core group or the leadership group or whatever, you know, loaded term you want to use there, actually does work done, okay? And almost invariably, that is the shape of community building as I've seen it. And so this is a natural evolution. We've just had to come to this as an evolution.
And I just want to say the difference between our group is the core group can feel really closed and really separate and elitist. And I don't think that's going to happen here. And I just think that the core group can really feel when you're just sort of waiting your toe, like Gene Bellinger, he really wants to join our group. I just learned a little bit more from Peter Jones about him. Amazing guy. I love Gene, but he wants to be in the core group. So in other words, that feeling of like, oh, I got invited to the core group makes you a member just by being invited and what you do. I'm just saying actions are what creates the membership, not the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then it's an open door. Someone wants to come in and do something, then they're in. And if they want to hop out for a while, then they're out.
Yeah, and some people want to just come in and dump a bunch of money and say, I just put in $500, so I'm a core member. And then we get to argue about how it is you contribute and blah, blah, blah. But all contributions are important. The person that just puts in $500, the person that transcribes everything, all the contributions are important. I don't think any are less than other. And I think we can have several core groups. We don't have to be one of those organizations with just one core group. We can have several core groups doing, there's just so much to be done in terms of communication globally. Like I really want to get my dream is to have every country represented here in our group.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Sam? And different rooms with speaking different languages. So like the people from Africa that actually no, they probably weren't as quick to, you know, I'm just saying I want to have inclusivity of global. I would love that. And let's go there. And Joss Winder's popping in. Yay.
But I really have to go now, guys. I need to go and eat something. This was good. And I really appreciate your hats.
Oh, I forgot about
Sam
that.
wins. Sam's the best, definitely. Without doubt. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jaswinder, did you want to have any last words? You're on mute, Jaswinder. I'll unmute you.
Okay, looks like a very productive meeting. Joshua has done a tremendous amount again, and it's mainly because I kept quiet that I think everybody's been so productive. Bye. Bye, Josh.
That's
Bye, Miss
it.
Winter.
All right. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.